Sheila, what steps have you taken to redesign courses to include more motivational experiences for learners during the broad general education, leading to positive uptake in the senior phase?
Well, one of the things we've been able to do over the last 10 to 14 years is that because we have a languages specialist who is a former PT in Dunbar Grammar School, teaching in cluster primaries, we've been able to create a coherent course from P6 all the way through to S4 and beyond. And we've actually been able to stop teaching the first two courses, the first two topics that we used to have in S1, the basic introduction to language, and then on to family and pets and all that kind of stuff. That's now been moved down into the primary school. So the topic that we start with at the beginning of S1 is school, which is relevant to them because they're just coming into the secondary school. It's their first opportunity, well, their first topic. And so they hit the ground running, and they're taken quite deeply into the language straight away. So they're almost challenged from the very beginning. They're not doing colours and that kind of thing. So we can push them quite far. By the time they get to the end of S3, they feel like they've had a really good shot at the language, and they feel quite confident in their ability. So they're more likely to take it up in S4. We've also been able to introduce things that, with the BGE, things like research into a town in another country, in a French or German speaking country, and just broaden the topics out a little bit and put in a little bit more complexity in there as well. And I think they've really responded well to that. Definitely. We also used to teach, we would have 5 topics from S1 to S2, and then we would do the same 5 topics again in S3 and S4 at standard grade. And we've now changed that, so we don't repeat topics with greater complexity later on. We actually start out with a topic and we take them really quite deeply into that straight away. We do revisit the things that we've covered in S1 to S3 when we get back to S4, but not in any great depth. It's just touching on and reminding them about it. So that's our experience.
Do you have any placing requests, you know, pupils that maybe come and they haven't had that experience at primary from out with the catchment area?
So any student that comes to us who's come with the other language, the one that we teach, because we alternate our languages, we have a little package in place for them, so we kind of fast track them through the primary stuff to catch them up. And we usually find by the time they get to S3, they're kind of back on track with everybody else.
Motivated to catch up. Good.
So what learning opportunities do you have out with the usual classroom environment in your department?
Okay, we seek opportunities, you know, wherever we can find them, really. We have native speakers, French and a German, and from time to time a Spanish lady that comes in, and we target the senior pupils actually. But I think the younger pupils are aware that they're aware of the native speakers in the department and so on. We're in the middle of a project just now with SILT and British Council, where a student on Project Trust is going to do a year in Chile, and he will liaise with the Spanish class while he's there, talking about customs, and try and fit that in with the topics and themes that the class are doing. We have pupils sort of teaching each other, not just in their own classroom, but maybe a small group from my class will go and teach a grammar point or something to another class, you know, so just taking it outside the 4 walls, I think, is sometimes effective. Occasionally we'll have pupils, when they're practicing for speaking, interviewing other teachers, but not necessarily modern languages teachers, you know, teachers that are willing to show off their language. So I think it makes it interesting. We have a very successful French exchange, which has been going for over 20 years. And it itself is very successful. But I think one of the more successful aspects is that after their visits, the pupils keep in touch, and then we have individual pupils coming over, you know, in their October week or something, so that's quite good. And we also had a successful Comenius trip as well, and although there was only senior pupils involved in that, they spoke at assemblies and so on about their experiences in different countries. And I think, you know, again, I come back to target language, although that happens in the classroom. When we see pupils outside the classroom, we try to take opportunities to speak to them. I think that's quite successful. Any other steps you've taken which have impacted on uptake post S4 in languages?
Well, 3 years ago we decided to introduce Spanish. From first year up until that point we only had French in the core, and it was quite pioneering at the time, and it's taken quite a lot of organisation and perseverance, but we saw it through to the present 3rd years taking their option choices, and we think it's had quite a big impact in the choices because 3/4 or 2/3 of the year group have opted to take Spanish as a national qualification. For the first time, we are no longer part of the core in S4, and 79 pupils out of 115 have opted to take a language, whether it's French or Spanish. So the way we worked it was quite difficult in terms of organising the time and the timetable, because we weren't given any more allocation. It's 3 periods a week, which we always had. So half the year group did 2 French and 1 Spanish, and the other half did 2 Spanish, 1 French. In first year, in second year they swapped, and in third year they're now opting for the preferred subject. So I think if we hadn't sort of introduced the Spanish, I don't think the numbers would be as healthy in this current uptake. We'll see how it goes the further on. We progress with this model, but so far so good, and I think it's been very, very popular. The Spanish it's not something we do in the primary, and I think the novelty of it and the fact that they can identify with Spanish, they can relate to it. I think that's really helped the increase in the uptake. So we'll just keep monitoring the uptake as we go.
Sounds positive. Yeah, that's good.
That's good.